All right, thanks everybody for coming. My name is Seth Rubin. I'm a professor in chemistry and biochemistry and the faculty undergraduate director. This is Marla. Everybody knows Marla. Marla is your awesome chemistry and BMB advisor.
Oh, thanks. Good to see you all.
So the point of this, I want to try and keep it as informal as possible. Please interrupt with questions at any time. The plan is I have maybe like 15-20 minutes of just stuff I can spew at you to get you information and motivate you. And then we have 4 current undergraduate students who are doing research, and we're going to form a panel, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their experience, how they got involved, what it's meant to them. And then I just want to leave lots of time for question and answers. Okay, but again, like I'll start and just interrupt me at any time. So yeah, I wanted to just start by trying to motivate a little bit why you might want to get involved in research. I know you're all here, so you probably already are thinking this is something you want to do, which is great, but I'll try to motivate that even a little bit more. And yeah, there's lots of reasons to do it, and the joke that I always make is that people, like, you come to a UC, which is a Research One institute, you come to UC not because you want to sit in a lecture with 500 people in general chemistry, right? That's not fun, that's not the point, but because you can actually have the opportunity to do research here, right? Because in addition to our teaching mission, we have a mission to do scholarship and research and invent technology and gain new knowledge. And there's a whole enterprise here that exists outside of the classroom to do that. And that's something that I totally didn't appreciate when I first went to a university. I kind of just thought, oh, like all my professor does is teach my class, but that's not true, right? All the professors that are teaching your classes, almost all of them are also doing research. There's PhD students, there's postdoctoral fellows who are people that are continuing to do research after their PhD. There's professional research staff. All of those people are here doing research in all the labs in this building and others at the same time that classes are going on, right? And you have the opportunity coming to UC to be involved in that. And undergraduate research is something that all of the labs, probably almost all the labs, have going on as well. And part of our mission is to train undergrads to do research, and undergrads contribute in a really meaningful way towards the advancement of knowledge. So we want to have all of you in our labs. Okay. So why do you want to do it? The first two kind of have to do with this idea of learning what it actually means to be a scientist. So when you take your classes, especially your intro classes, you're kind of being talked at, and you're just learning concepts, and you're learning kind of the field of biology and chemistry and facts and all this information. And that's not really what scientists do, right? Science is about discovering new things and new knowledge and the scientific method of proposing a hypothesis and testing that hypothesis. And none of that really gets learned or done in your classes, right? So that's what gets done in the laboratory. So if you want to really feel like you are a scientist, the way to do that is to go do research. And it's amazing actually, because this, so you're applying the concepts that you learned, but also feeling what it means to be a scientist. And what's amazing is that what research has shown is that when undergrads start engaging in research, they actually start doing better in their classes, because actually feeling like a scientist is quite motivating, and all of a sudden you like your classes better and you want to study more. And so they kind of like go hand in hand in this kind of synergizing positive way. So that, I would say, is kind of the #1 reason. And that kind of then leads to the second part, right, which is thinking about what your career is going to be in the sciences. Because learning about doing research might inform you that you want a career in research. It might inform you that you don't want a career in research, and that there's some other kind of STEM-related path for you. But again, kind of, if you want to be a scientist, mostly that means you want to be somebody who learns new knowledge and does research. And so actually experiencing what that is like is, of course, super important. So you're gonna become more focused on what your career should be, and you're going to gain experience and learn skills that will directly translate to you getting a job after college or going to graduate school, right? So both graduating and looking to industry and chemistry, biochemistry, health-related fields All of that is to your advantage to have research experience because of the skills you learn, the kind of applied hands-on knowledge. And also, if you want to go on to graduate school, master's, PhD, professional school, a lot of times there's the expectation that you'll have done research. And again, doing research will inform you whether that's something you want to do. Okay. The third one, or the kind of next point, which again is something that I didn't appreciate when I was an undergrad until I actually started doing research, and I hope maybe the undergrads who are going to speak later can speak to this, is when you start doing research in a department, like if you were to do it in chemistry or if you were to do it in MCD biology, it automatically makes you start to feel like you're part of a community. Like I was saying, there's undergraduate students here, but there's also PhD students, some of whom you've interacted with as TAs, but there's a lot more of them just doing research, and you start to interact with them more once you join the lab and start to do research. And so you really then start to feel like you're part of the department and part of this community, and you make many more connections. And again, that can be really inspiring and motivating for you to do better in your classes, to think about what kind of career you want, to have that kind of network of people and that support system, and to really feel like you're part of something. So that's something that I really felt like I gained a lot from my undergraduate research experience. Was I really didn't kind of like feel like I was part of a group until I joined the lab and started doing research, and then I really felt like part of this department. So it can be really inspiring. And then the last reasons that I have here are kind of more sort of like practical, what kind of tangible things do you gain in the end once you've done research? One is that you build a relationship with a faculty member that is hard to do otherwise. You get some relationships from courses that you take with professors, but if you have a research mentor as an undergraduate student, that's a really strong relationship that you build. And that is great to have that kind of mentor, but also translates into a letter of recommendation for what you want to do next. There's opportunities to write a senior thesis or present at conferences, posters, either locally on campus or elsewhere on your work. That's a great thing to have for your resume, and also a great learning experience. And then finally, if you work on a lab and you collect data and it's meaningful, that often will get incorporated into a publication with your name as an author, which again, part of that is the learning experience, but that's also kind of a tangible achievement that you can point to and say, I'm now a published scientist, and looks great for applying for jobs and applying for grad school. And so there's kind of tangible goals and achievements that you can get as well, and that will help you. Okay, so that's kind of all the motivating factors that I could think of. By the way, I forgot to mention, Marla's going to make all the slides available once I send them to her, and this is being recorded ideally, so you can always sit back and watch it.
But none of you are in it, so don't worry. It's all on set.
Just all on me. Okay, so now we all want to do research. How do you get involved? Okay, and this is probably what a lot of you are wondering about, and this can be challenging, right? So probably the most traditional way to do it, and again, the undergrads can speak to what their experience has been. But the most traditional way is you just self-motivated, reach out to faculty and ask them if you can help them do their research. So how do you do that? That can be super intimidating. On the one hand, that's true. On the other hand, faculty expect that this will happen because we all know that there are undergrads who want to do research. So I get emails all the time from undergrads asking me to do research. Don't be shy. That's the first most important thing I can tell you. Is you kind of have to be proactive, you have to be confident, and you have to be willing to send out emails. So what you want to do is you first want to figure out roughly what type of research that you want to do. Hopefully you have an idea from your classes of certain subjects that have really interested you, whether it be you really like doing synthesis in Chem 8 and you want to join a synthesis lab, or you really like learning about proteins in Bio 20A and you want to join a biochemistry lab, whatever it was that you connected with in your classes, think about that, and then go onto all of the websites. The department websites all have lists of faculty. They're all linked to faculty research websites where you can go and you can read about what is going on in that faculty person's lab. And find a few labs, start with a few that really kind of grabbed your attention, you thought looked really interesting, and reach out to those faculty with an email. And it doesn't have to be the perfect fit, because as I'm about to explain more, you're probably going to get a lot of no's for answers. So don't like try to find the one perfect one and spend a lot of time agonizing on it. Just like find a handful that look pretty exciting and reach out to those faculty. And in that email, what you want to do, so an example, the bad email is like, hey, I want to do research, can I do research in your lab? Don't do that, right? You want to be really thoughtful, not super long-winded, but kind of a concise, thoughtful explanation of who you are, what your goals are, and importantly, why you're writing to that professor. Tell that professor what it is that you saw in that research that's getting you excited. And it could be, I took Bio-20A, I thought proteins were really cool. I know your lab works on proteins, so that's why I'm reaching out to you. Something like that. And you don't have to do extensive research. You don't have to go try and read all the papers from that lab and try and like write details about it to show off your knowledge. Just like something kind of casual but thoughtful, why that lab in particular. And then again, something kind of about yourself, where you are, like are you a sophomore or junior, and why you want to get involved in research. And so send out a bunch of those emails, and then what's going to happen is you're probably going to get a lot of non-responses. That's totally normal. Faculty get a lot of email, and as you've probably experienced from instructors, right, it can be slow to get back to you. You should follow up, let a few days go by, a week go by, and follow up, and try and be a little bit persistent. I always say you kind of have to be persistent without being stalky, right? Like you don't want to like go camp out and surprise them when they come to their office. But you know, if you want to be bold, you can find out when they have office hours and drop by. If there's really someone you're super interested in, you're just not getting a response. You're going to get a lot of no's. Don't take that personally. It's almost, most of it has nothing to do with you, but just the fact that spots are limited in labs, and we get a lot of requests. So a lot of it is just luck of like the right timing. And I can say like almost all the undergrads who have joined my lab just happened to write me at a time where I know that we've had like a space opening up. And so there's a lot of luck to it, which again is kind of why you have to like write a lot of them. Like don't pick one or two. Think about like 5 to maybe 10. And again, it would be great to have the undergrads talk about what their experience is. So that's probably like the traditional way. Now, you might think this is kind of silly, like why don't we have a system where like I write to Marla and say, hey Marla, I want to do research, and Marla has a list of the faculty who have spots and we just match people up. Like that would be super efficient, but the reason why we don't do that is because, at least my bias is, I want people to have that motivation and to be proactive and show me that they're motivated to do it. And I want you to go out and learn about what I'm doing before you ask to join my lab. Okay, so I think it is kind of messy and not organized, but there's kind of a reason for that, is so that the really motivated people who want to do it will kind of push their way to the front of the line and be aggressive about trying to get into a lab. Now, there's other things that you can do, especially if you're a shy person, which is totally okay as well. And you can start with your TAs. So maybe you're somebody who the idea of like emailing a professor, talking to a professor is totally freaking you out, but you know, like you've been able to talk to your TAs, like especially your lab TAs, where it's like a little bit of a smaller group, or your section TA. All the TAs are doing research in labs. So you should ask the TA about the research that they're doing. And if that's interesting to you, start asking the TA if they know of positions in their lab or other similar labs. And they're actually, TAs are a great resource to find opportunities. So I definitely recommend that. Another thing that I want to point out is there's a new initiative on campus called the Work Study Initiative. There's a link to it. And again, I'll get these slides to you. If you are eligible for work study, there are postings that faculty will do when they have work study positions available, and you can use your work study actually to do research. I should say, yeah, research can be your work study job. You just need to get a professor to sponsor you, which by the way is also something you could put in that email. because that could be motivating for a professor to try and hire you. So if you are work study eligible, check out that site, and there are job opportunities that get posted. Explore internship opportunities at companies. Marla's right. What I'm going to say, and the experiences you're going to hear about are all on campus. There are internship opportunities at companies in town. There is a lot of tech companies, especially like kind of down in that Delaware area, kind of as you get down towards Natural Bridges. Bunch of tech companies down there. They do have internships. There are websites I can point you to try and find those. You just have to be, a little motivated and do some research, find what companies are in town and reach out to them, see if they have internship opportunities. So I definitely wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Okay, then the last thing, and this is something to think about even as kind of a first approach, but also a good approach if all else fails and you're just having trouble finding a spot in the lab. There are now classes that you register for where you do research. And these are called course-based undergraduate research experiences, or CURE labs. Chemistry and biochemistry right now offers 2, Chem 160, which I actually teach, and Chem 161, which Sean McMillan teaches. McKinney, thank you. Sean McKinney, who maybe a lot of you have had, he teaches. There is 2 in MCD biology now. I think 2 or maybe 3 in MCD biology now. And you don't have to be a major in any specific discipline to take the class from that department. You just have to be interested in the class. Okay, so what these are, and Adarsh, who's here, is actually in Chem 160 right now, so you could talk to him, maybe to put him on the spot. You can talk to him after about it. So this is basically like a lab class that you register for, but the whole point of the class is to do a research project. So in our class, there's 9 students this year. It varies each year from around 10 to 15. The professor has designed a research project. It takes the whole year. So you register for the class fall, winter, and spring. And you do that research project with that group of 10 to 15 people throughout the whole year. They're usually designed so everybody has a similar project. Like, for example, in our class, we're all looking at the same protein, but we're all looking at cancer-driving mutations in that protein, and everybody picks their own mutations. So it's kind of like you have your independent project in the context of a group project. It is a great way to get a first research experience. I can even make a bunch of arguments why I think it's better. For one, the learning is very scaffolded. So like we read papers together, we do lab meeting together, we write all paper, all results at the end, and because it's a class for the year, for that instructor, there's sort of like a lot of attention and a lot of thought going into your progress through that research project. So they can be really great. And for that, all you have to do is register. There's like a 1-page application that comes out in the spring. And we're looking for people who don't have research experience. There are prerequisites. I can speak to the ones I know in chemistry. It's basically that you've made it through the 8 series. And for 160, you have to be co-enrolled or have already taken biochemistry. So I'm happy to talk more about that after, and Marla can always get you more information on that. You can always email me about that, but that's another good opportunity. It's not, though, kind of what you think of as the traditional research opportunity where you go into a lab with PhD students and professional staff and they're kind of doing research with that professor in the lab. But it is a really good way to get an introduction to research. Okay, where are we on time? I'm already talking to you about that. Okay. Pretty good. Okay. How do I get my research funded? Okay, so that could be another question on your mind, and it's a good thing to think about. Why would you want to do it? One, it frees up time to do your research, right? So one issue that we have is that it takes time to do research. It probably will get asked to spend 15 hours a week, 10 to 15 hours a week doing research, between classes, and if you have a job because you need a job to make money, it's hard to find that time. You can get paid to do your research and that can be your job, then that's the ideal situation, right? Time is money, money is time. So if you can get funding, you'll have more time to do research. Sometimes it can help you to purchase reagents or equipment that you need. Usually you don't need money to do that because you're going to be working in a lab that has a grant to fund the project and can buy that stuff, but it always helps to bring extra money. And you can also use that money to like go to conferences. So it's always good to think about fellowship opportunities. I just want to point out a few. And then I'll show you some websites that you can go to that has a more exhaustive list of funding opportunities. One that's I like to point out because it's not a lot of money. It's 2,500 to 3,500, so like you can't probably quit your job, right? But it's a little bit of money that's great for going to conferences and maybe buying a laptop or something like that. And they're like relatively easy to get, I would say, compared to a lot of other awards. And that's these PDSci Undergraduate Research in Science and Technology Awards, where there's two programs that alter every year. The other one's called the Correct Scholars. They're basically the same program, similar program. Just have to be UCSC undergrad. So this, you need a faculty sponsor. So this would be if you've already joined a lab, already have an idea of what your project's going to be. You write a really short application with your PI, and you submit it, and you get the money. So that's a good one to keep in mind. Okay, there's a number of programs on campus that will fund you to do research. These programs are funded by federal grants or California state grants in the case of some of them. There's an application process to get into these programs. They are tend to be focused around increasing diversity in science. They're run out of what's called the UCSC STEM Diversity Programs Office. You can definitely go to this website to learn more about these programs. There's a common application that you submit that kind of applies, where you apply to all the programs, and then they use your application in an interview to kind of match you to the right program. They kind of vary in what support they are. Probably the most competitive one that has the highest support is this program called MARC, which stands for Maximizing Access to Research Careers. MARC will basically give you a stipend to do research throughout the year, throughout the summer, and in a lot of cases can contribute to tuition and fees. So there's actually quite a bit of money there. Camp and UC leads tend to focus around giving you funding over the summer. But they're all great programs to get involved with. Definitely check out the website. Definitely think about applying in February. Especially they look for people, if you're a sophomore or junior, or is the best time to apply for that. Best time is a sophomore, but also usually they'll take juniors and then you would start the following fall in the program. There's other things. So professors, a lot of the professors doing research have grants to support that research. Oftentimes, you can have a conversation with your professor to see if there's funds available from that grant to support you with a stipend over the summer. I know some of us will do that, especially if people have been working in the lab for quite a while. So typically you'll be asked to volunteer at first, and then if it's going well and you can convince kind of your professor that you're being super productive, sometimes if there's funds available, they can give you summer support. So that's definitely possibilities. I pointed out the Work Study Research Initiative. That's a possibility if you're work study eligible. There's a number of other kind of cash awards that you can apply for when you graduate. I just threw that up there to keep in mind. And then there are some kind of external opportunities for funding that are they're pretty competitive programs. Some of them are national, like this Barry Goldwater Scholarship is a national competition. That's pretty competitive, but also like a lot of money. It's like almost 10,000 a year now, I think. So that is to say, it just kind of looks really is as well. But yeah, there's definitely money out there to get involved in new research. And then here, okay, good. Yeah, here are some websites. You could take a photo of that, but also again, you can ask Marla. This one, this Physical and Biological Science Undergraduate Research Opportunities webpage. This is really good. It kind of goes through the process of writing the email that I was talking about, and there's actually some good examples on it. Our website is pretty good now too. And then the PDSci division has a webpage where they keep a list of awards and some funding opportunities that you can also check out. Take a picture. Okay, I think it's time for our undergrads to come up. And yeah, so pull your chairs up to the front. And I should probably not share my screen. How do we get it to show this? I stopped screen.
And I will turn off the slides before these so they can see in front of the screen.
Yeah, I can't figure out how to turn my screen.
Stop sharing. The little bit. Can I pronounce it?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so what I've asked you all to do is to just take a few minutes, introduce yourself. And yeah, I think people would love to hear how you got involved in your research experience, because again, like everybody here probably knows they want to do research, they just don't know how to get involved. So hearing kind of firsthand experiences, that would be great. And then yeah, that's kind of like what we've gotten out of it. Thanks, guys.
So I'm gonna do, I'm a sophomore, I'm a B&B major, and I got involved in research over the summer. So last summer I started at the Johnston lab, which is an inorganic chemistry lab. It's like, and so I basically started because like I knew I wanted to do research over the summer and just like get involved and like do something, kind of just like figure out my career a little bit and just like see what's out there. So I went through like kind of basically what he said, where I basically just like went through like the faculty list of like everything, and then I looked at like a couple labs that I was like super interested in, and then I emailed, and then I did that like kind of a lot, and I didn't get a lot of responses, and then so I just kind of like kept going. And I would say that kind of took me, like combined with schoolwork and like other things, like it kind of took me like probably like a month and a half or something, where I would just like not like constantly, but like at least like once a week, just kind of like be like, oh, like let me check in on this and like see what's going on. So I like emailed for a little bit, like not a lot of responses, and then so I kept going, and then I did get like a couple responses. So I ended up interviewing with like a couple professors who basically like it wasn't a really crazy interview. They just want to know a little bit about you and like what are your hobbies, or like what, like, you know, what are your research interests, like what do you like, you know, what do you do on campus, stuff like that. And so I interviewed with a couple of professors, and they're really nice. And I noticed a lot that they just wanted to like give you an opportunity to like do something. And once we like talked, I kind of like also like kind of checked what it would be like with the grad student as well. So like I talked to like one or two grad students, and I noticed that like some of them, like in my opinion, like seemed like really like, because they had like 5 other students that they were like in charge of, and it kind of seemed like maybe like some of them weren't a great fit just because they were in charge of like so much. That was just my opinion. But so then I moved on to like the Johnston lab, and then there like I found like a really great match where I felt like me and my grad student got along really well, and like I was the only undergrad that he was in charge of, and so like we just had like a really great match. And then so I continued there over the summer, and I dedicated like probably like 15 to 20 hours a week to like just working over the summer, and like just he would like just teach me like every single technique. And I noticed like a big thing was just like ask a lot of questions, take a lot of notes. Like they're not like looking for anything like insane from you. They just want to like know that you're kind of curious. So I did that, and it was like really rewarding, because then this year, like after the summer, like in the fall, I felt like there were like a lot of opportunities that they like offered. Like I was able to like present for the first time, like do a poster presentation at like the Cruz Symposium, which is like my first time ever doing something like that. So like I noticed that like kind of like what he said, like it was like you're in like a community, you're like in the department, and like I'd spent a lot of time here and feel like I got to know like other grad students in the lab and like understand a lot of opportunities. And like it's great because a lot of them are like TAs for courses that you're taking right now, or like at least as a sophomore, like they'll TA for like Chem 8L or something, and then or like know a bit more about like Chem 8A. So like that's really helpful, because I feel like they just have another resource to ask. Yeah, but it was really rewarding, and yeah, I love it.
Awesome, thanks.
I'm Celia Patterson. I am a senior in biochemistry major. I started off my research experience actually in the college evolutionary ecology department sophomore year, and I literally went to my professor and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in your work. And she said, I don't have any research experience like opportunities, but you can help me by washing dishes and working with the animals. I did that for a month and she came up with a project, put me on it. It wasn't a great fit, wasn't really what I wanted to do, so I ended up switching labs and switching majors to biochemistry from marine biology. Did that between sophomore and junior year. Summer before junior year, I started emailing professors in the BNB, the chemistry and biochemistry department. Didn't hear back from a lot of them. Got a couple of outright no's, followed up, and just like kind of went from, hey, I'm interested in your research, can I join your lab, to I'm interested in your research, can I join in lab meetings? Got a couple of yeses, went to a couple lab meetings. Kind of figured out what research was going on, met some grad students. If I didn't hear anything back about lab meetings, I'm like, can we schedule a 30-minute just talk about your research? And that's how I ended up meeting Glenn Milhauser, who's the PI for the lab I'm working, and we scheduled like a 30-minute talk. It turned into an hour and a half just talking about life and research and whatever, like, which I was not expecting. And he reached out to postdoc in the lab, who was actually looking for an undergraduate at the time, and he offered me the position. Did that, started that about this time last year, been there ever since. I do about 15 hours a week in the lab. Right now, because I'm taking a research course, I do about 20, a little bit more than average. Spring last year, came up with my own project and been working on that. It's been incredibly rewarding. I've met so many people, made quite a few friends, just people around the department, learned so much. Plan to get a PhD in chemistry, and so everyone in the lab has been helping me with my applications, and really, they're like, okay, you're going to grad school, we're going to treat you like a first-year grad student, which is a lot, but it's really preparing me for what I want my life to be, and not just academically. Like, they'll help me with class work and homework and concepts I don't understand, or research, but they also helped me move. Like, we'll hang out outside of lab and off campus, such, like, it's such a community, like Seth said, it's amazing. And like, I was thinking of dropping out of college, honestly, when between switching majors, like, and my parents said give it one more quarter. I'm still here. It's amazing. So I highly recommend, even if it's not something you realize you love or you want to do as a career, but the social aspect, and as it's like the academic aspect, like getting more involved and interested in your courses is really rewarding. So highly recommend.
Oh, thanks.
That's really cool. My name is Ellie. I am a third-year neuroscience major, and I do organic chemistry research. So I'm not in my department, but like you said, you can kind of do research wherever you think it is. So yeah, I kind of started looking to get into a lab last year towards the end, like near summer, and I was enrolled in 8B, which is the second part of the organic series. And Rebecca Bradlow is teaching it. And I kind of, I think like a lot of people really don't enjoy organic chemistry. Yeah, it kind of sucks sometimes. Sometimes. But yeah, I started really loving it. I went to all of the office hours for my professor. I went to all the study sessions. I ended up doing really well in the class. And, that kind of coincided with me looking to get into a lab. So I emailed Rebecca, and she was like, I have an undergrad right now, like I'm not looking for anyone. So then I emailed someone else, and I started going to lab meetings, like I said, lab meetings are a great opportunity. You don't have to be in the lab to go to them. And it's kind of a good way to get a feel for the dynamic of the people in the lab and just like, I don't know, who's there, if they're nice. You know, I think that's an important part of doing research, being with people that really enjoy what they do. Yeah, anyways, then the undergraduate that was in Rebecca's lab ended up leaving, and I was kind of like next in line, just because like she knew me, she knew my work ethic, and yeah, so I ended up getting offered a spot in Rebecca Braslaw's lab, which is upstairs. We do organic chemistry, and yeah, I love it. The community is really, really awesome. I definitely feel like a scientist now. I felt like a scientist before, but it's really fun. And yeah, I actually also talked to the TA that was my TA for the class when I took it, and she's my mentor now, and I work with her. And I'm the only undergrad in that lab, which I kind of like because it's small, a lot of one-on-one with all of the grad students. And yeah, I don't know, but I found my lab through a class and just doing really well and putting a lot of effort into my class and kind of making friends with the professor, because your professors are people too, and like they want to see people do well and like love the subject. So yeah, that's kind of what I did. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really fun. That's what I have to say about that.
Thanks, El.
Hello, I'm Ashley. I work downstairs in the lead lab. It's a physical chemistry lab. And I got into it. I'm also working, I'm a transfer student, so finding a lab for me with like this short of a time was super important. But I actually got into it similarly with the class. I was taking quantum mechanics last fall. It was my first quarter here. And I made a really strong connection with my TA. And I actually got really lucky. She just asked me to come to the lab and start working with her. And I was like, hell yeah, absolutely. Like, I need experience. So yeah, and everybody, the community, absolutely amazing. Everybody in my lab, all the grad students, they're so down to help answer any questions that you have. My PI, yeah, Lee is also amazing. He floods my emails with applications for scholarships and programs, or I think you'd be good for this. So just trying to give me like every opportunity that he can. You are just flooded with that when you join a lab, because you're just joining like a community of people that want to help you and they're there to support you. But yeah, it's been great. It's difficult, I will say. I do spend upwards of 20 hours a week in lab, but I love what I do, and I think that's going to set me up for a really good future.
Great, awesome. One thing that a couple of people said that reminded me of it is possible to do independent study when you're volunteering in a lab. So oftentimes you'll get asked to volunteer at first, then I said sometimes from there you can get money from the PI's grant, you can apply for scholarships, but you can also, if you're doing research during the academic year, you can enroll in independent study, which is like 198, I forget the number.
199.
199. You can do it either for 2 units or 5 units. The expectation is like a unit is 3 hours a week, right? So if you roll for 2 units, you'd be doing 6 hours a week. 5 units, you'd be doing 15 hours a week. And then you work out some kind of plan with the PI of how you're going to be evaluated, because you could do a pass fail or you could do it for a letter grade. And then there's another flavor of that if you're doing a thesis as well. And Marla at some point can fill you in on all those details. But so it's all, we all recognize it's a big commitment. It needs to be something, and you heard all of them say, like they work 15 hours a week, like at least, right? It needs to be that much, because it just, to get something out of it, you have to put in that much time. You can't just kind of like come by an hour here, an hour there, and actually learn how to do the research, the techniques, and also make any progress putting in that little time. So it really just takes that much time, but we recognize it, and that's why there's opportunities to get paid, and that's why there's opportunities to do it for credit. Okay, great. So we probably have like bunch of time, yeah, 20 minutes. If you guys have questions for either me, Marla, our wonderful panel of active undergrad researchers, yeah.
Is there like a particular time of year that any of you would advise would be the best time to start applying? Or maybe there's like, that's the time when people leave labs, undergraduates leave labs, so it would be the best time to apply. Any advice on that?
I feel like now it's great just because people just graduated in spring and somebody in my lab, she just left, she's a senior and there are already 2 new undergrads in this quarter already. So now it's a great time.
Yeah. Also, I mean, whenever you have the motivation and the space to be able to do it, like you really need to be motivated. So whenever you feel ready, but also not.
Yeah, I think fall quarter is good quarter, because, you know, people leave, you know, graduating, whatever. Some professors I know require you to start like the spring quarter and work during the summer, and they'll train you during the summer, and then during the school, and it's more intensive. And then you kind of scale back your time for with classes during the school year. I know a couple people who've done that.
I did that. Yeah, the summer's an awesome time.
Yeah, but I think it really depends on when people are available. Like, I started to use my postdoc joined like September, and he was feeling comfortable, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for an undergrad in November," and it just happened. I know some people in my lab are saying no to undergrads right now because they're TAing. And that's a big time commitment on top of their research. So they're waiting until a quarter they aren't TAing to train a new undergrad. So it really depends. Anytime is the best time.
I agree with that. I would say, yeah, maybe before the fall starts is a good time, and as the fall starting, and then maybe like as people are graduating in the spring. But oftentimes people already know what our lab's going to be like over the summer, so the spring might be like, yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question. I think I would just do it when you're ready for sure. And then like oftentimes when undergrads will email me asking, and I know I don't have any room, I'll say, you know, like check back next quarter, and maybe the situation has changed. So yeah, we just gotta do it. Yeah, other questions?
So I know it probably depends on the type of lab and the type of research, but how hard would you say it is to get involved as a freshman? Because I know it's like most people would like want you to have taken organic chem or like some like more upper division classes, but what should I be doing now as a freshman?
Well, I applied when I was a freshman, but I was going into my sophomore year, so I had just finished all my Gen Chem sort of stuff. But honestly, in my experience, like there are some people that will probably say no to you because you just haven't taken enough coursework. But also I found that it's great because you are a freshman, you have like so much time. And I found it's nice because like me and my grad student have like the same amount of time left until we graduate. So like it's great because we can just coincide in that way, like time wise. And a lot of the time, like it's like an advantage because you get like more time for people to like train you. And then you can like kind of branch off when you're like a bit older. So I would say that like if you feel ready for it, you should apply now. Because then like there are some people who say no, but then there also are a lot of people who like the fact that you're like a freshman and like the amount of time that they have in their lab, I think.
Easy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think especially like some of the organic chemistry labs, I know they want you to have had like organic chemistry lab class because there's safety things and like basic techniques, but there are some labs that will take freshmen for sure. And I also completely agree with having like several years to do it. I'd say the undergrads that have come through my lab and have like really made progress and contributed and got authorships on papers are ones that kind of started like a sophomore. Because there is a learning curve, and and it takes time, right? So if you can start early and you hit it right and get into a good lab that you like and are motivated, like that's when you can really, almost as many years as the grad student, like work on a project. And also the summer, yeah, I would definitely now start thinking about spending at least one summer here once you're in a lab, because during the year it's just so easy to get pulled away. Where I've got this midterm and then I have that midterm, I got this bit, right? You're getting pulled away constantly for classes and clubs and activities. So you can do maybe 15 hours a week, even that's hard. But if you can do the summer where and you can get paid, right, to do the research. If you find that opportunity, then like 40 hours in a week in lab, like that's when you can really learn and make progress. And even like if you have to split it like a part-time job, it's like 20 hours a week. But just the summer, like people on campus in the department are all focused on research, and it's just, when you can be all focused on the research, it's just a different experience. So it definitely, as like kind of you map out the next like couple of years in your head, start thinking about that. If you are like already a junior or a senior, I think it's great to apply then too, especially if you're a junior. If you start to hit like summer of junior year and you're only going to have 1 year left, that's another good time where we really start thinking about the cure, the course as an opportunity, because I think just like faculty sometimes are shy with freshmen, sometimes faculty are actually shy taking seniors because there's just a limited amount of time. So if you like know you have a year, the cure lab is another good route for that. Any other thoughts on timing? Yeah.
What is the expectation this summer? Like, is there an expectation that you stay in Santa Cruz, or can you take it somewhere else?
I don't think there's really any expectation. I definitely like encourage, like if you were to start in my lab as a junior and you have that one summer between junior and senior year, I would strongly encourage you to stay. Just because for all the reasons I just laid out, and that's your one opportunity. For people who start as sophomores, I would encourage them to pick one summer to stay, and maybe for another summer think about doing something else. Because there are advantages of like, right, if you're going to work in the lab all year long, maybe there's lots of summer. I didn't mention this. There's lots of summer research opportunities at other universities. A lot of universities, and we have some that are kind of organized around bringing students to the department just for like an 8 to 10 week internship in the summer. The NSF, National Science Foundation, has a program called REU, Research Experience for Undergrads, that we used to have one. But lots of campuses have them, and you can apply for them, and that's like to do a summer there. And they're kind of like, it's designed to give people research experience. It's also sort of like a backhanded way to get like people interested in that school for grad school. And a lot of times people will do an REU at some campus and really love it and want to go there for grad school. Those are great opportunities too. So I would say if you have one summer, spend it in the lab, because like I said, it's just, and you've heard, it's way different and a lot to learn there. But it's not written in stone that you have to, and it's probably, you know, up to your discussion with your PI about it. That's right.
And I'm just going to give a little plug that if you sign up for that career interest survey and you fill it out, which is in the undergrad research section of the chemistry and biochemistry advising website, if you fill out that career interest survey and say that you're interested in research, I oftentimes get notified about those summer research opportunities, and I will send them directly to your email address, so that your UCSC email address. So you don't have to be looking for them necessarily. It's good to look for them, because I'm sure not all of them are emailing me specifically to tell me about their opportunities, but a lot of them do. So there's a lot of them coming out right now. Applications are due seemingly like early winter quarter. Yeah, fill out that career interest survey and I can send them directly to you. And I will also send you all, I just made a note for myself, when I send you the slides and the recording for this event, I will also send you a link to the document where I just continuously add all of those research opportunities that I hear about to it, so that if you fill out the career interest survey now, I'm not going to backlog send you everything, but you can go back and see what's been sent out so far. So there are those opportunities there.
I don't mean to go into like the details, like, but do you get housing if you are on campus doing research?
Some programs do, so the programs that we were just talking about that are like really focused on summer research often do. If you're just kind of an undergrad here and like you join a lab next week and wanted to stay on campus to do research, that's a conversation you have to have with your professor if there's funds to do that. I would say normally not, but normally, or it is quite possible to get like a stipend. Yes. Yes.
I worked for programs that do summer internships in the past, and the housing website, UCSC Housing, has an opportunity for you to request to apply for on-campus housing. And I have been told, I don't know the rate exactly, but that it is cheaper than campus rents, which but I don't know if it's necessarily affordable, but it's available. The only thing that you need is to have somebody verify that you're on campus or that you're in here for the summer for some sort of work opportunity on campus. And typically that can be a coordinator, faculty, just someone that can sign off and be like, yes, this person is doing what they're saying.
Maybe they need RAs too. I don't know. Yeah. Into that kind of thing. Any other questions? All right, well, we can stick around for a few minutes if anyone wants to come up and ask something. Otherwise, Marla will get you slides and a link to the recording, and you can always email Marla or me. My email is f.rubin@ucsc.edu. You can look it up though. And yeah, thanks again for coming. Hope this was helpful.
And real quick before you all go, if you have any questions that you want to talk to me as the chemistry and biochemistry and microbiology advisor about, you can email me at chemistryadvising@ucsc.edu for chem and biochem, microadvising@ucsc.edu for micro. And if you did not RSVP for today, that is totally fine, but I will not have your email address and know who you are to send you the recording and all of that. So if you want that sent to you and you didn't RSVP, or if you're not sure, just email me tonight, hopefully, so that I can know to send that to you when I send out the recording and whatnot tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.